Hey, listen, it's Deadpool and Wolverine Eve here on the Omega Level Nerds. Don J100 with you, but beforehand, I must apologize. Of course, I was at Myrtle Beach last week, but here we are, guys. Star Wars mega fans that really will keep you in the right direction. We're going to talk Acolyte, the whole series at this point. You know, we've binged it a couple times each.
Yeah, I can honestly say I've seen the Acolyte at least 3 times already, and I love it every single time. It gets better every time, for real.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so you know, one thing that I had said before was, it does still have to stick the landing, and to me, it did stick the landing, very much so. Um, I Leslie Headland, I think that you have had a lot thrown at you, and I just want to say congratulations.
Yeah,
Um, I think that you have shown your knowledge of Star Wars with bringing in really interesting elements from Legends and even not Legends, but just, with the cortosis weave, um, the bleeding of the crystal. I think there was a
mm,
great piece of lore
mm.
that you have given us there. Um, and you've had just a lot of critics, and listen, you might as well consider us the Acolyte Protection Agency, because the J100 and Don, we're going to be here to defend this show as a really good piece of Star Wars cinema, whatever you want to call it at this point, even though it's streaming. Was it my favorite Star Wars show? Absolutely not. But was it a great Star Wars show? Absolutely, because for me, Star Wars mega fan, been there since day one. This expands the universe,
So
and
much.
instead of saying that breaks lore, which is incorrect. So let me record straight. Spoiler, not yet, I guess. But if you're saying, "Hey Don, I keep hearing how this breaks Star Wars, it breaks lore," that is all completely fabricated. Those are all hate utensils. There is no lore that is broken here. There is only new lore that is given to us, and ultimately, now spoiler alert, ultimately, this shows us how Plagueis learns that you can manipulate the Force and midichlorians to create life. Okay? Obviously, you've all seen it all. I mean, come on, because it's a week after this point, so you all know that we get a glimpse of Plagueis. Pre-respirator, because he does get fucked up to a point where he needs like a dark, but nonetheless, it's Plagueis. Plagueis was on Bendoc, and he's
No,
they
not Brendock. The
or
other
Brent.
place,
Right, you're
the
right.
unknown planet.
There we go. Right.
It's unknown planet right now, but
Um.
I think it's that planet in the comics where Cortosis was. Almost said
Right on.
catharsis again.
Well, it is
but
catharsis for
that's what I
me.
think. That's my guess.
This show is introducing shit that I only read about, man, and how that is somehow being used to hate against it just is unfathomable to me. And it really boils down to ignorance. Um, and boy, I like it a lot. So again, for those of you that are like, should I watch it or hear about all this hate? Forget all that. Which, by the way, looks like you've already done, because it's actually doing great as far as viewership goes in streaming. So I'm so happy to see that, to celebrate the whole Acolyte show. And again, watching it back to back to back, binging it, I think it is even better. I did have some pacing issues, but I actually do think those go away when you do binge it. Um,
Yeah, when you gotta wait a week after a cliffhanger,
right.
it breaks pace. But when that cliffhanger, you can next episode, and don't even have to watch the credits. Doesn't really break pace. It's that instant gratification part of it that I think people wanted, and instant gratification and content overload. And it's tough because I'm pretty sure that this show was either written or shot during the writer strike, or is that before? Probably before because they were doing um, um,
I
marketing
don't.
for it, but it was
Yeah.
probably during that too, and that
Yeah.
probably led to why it's so short, to be honest.
Mhm.
But even if I'm just making that up, and if I am making that up, I apologize. But I think that it feels like what that is. Um, Overall, they did a lot with 8 episodes, and um, you know, sure, there's parts where it's slow or it's this or it's that, but outside of the questions that we still need answered, because that's why you make a season two, it answered everything that they had set up. And that's what I was looking for as far as writing. Did you bring something up and then leave it? Did you bring up this, draw out this character and then ignore it? Or, do you think that this is going to be something they do for season two? Stuff like that. That's what I was thinking about while I'm watching. Well, the second time, third time, I was just trying to enjoy it. Um, but uh, and when you do that, like, yeah, the show still does have its flaws, and every show has its flaws. There's no such thing as a perfect show, and if there is such thing as a perfect show, tell me what it is that we all can agree on. Oh, we can't? Okay, shut up then. So yeah, I
Right
mean,
on.
so
Yeah.
so I think it was special. And it was special because it was new as far as Star Wars and Star Wars canon. We're in a era, and we're in a time period that we've never seen in live action. So because of that, when it comes to like even the hardcore casuals, I'm gonna call them hardcore casuals. Hardcore casuals are the movie show watchers but never read the comics or the books. So I'm like I'm I'm a, I'm going to claim myself in the hardcore casual group, even though I've dug into the books and the comics and I'm aware of them and their stories and their themes and their plots. I just never actually got into them. That's something that I actually aim to do for my Star Wars fandom. Is I want every piece of media, canon media. So when I put it on, my mantle or whatever, granted they maybe go from books to comics to DVD to VHS. Well, maybe not VHS, but you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Right.
But it'll be in order, so you can go and pick in the timeline. Oh, here's where the black saber was created, or the dark saber, or here's where Yoda was a youngling or something like that. You know what I mean? If they go that far, that's what I want. So I will have it, but I don't right now. So I'll consider myself a hardcore casual fan. And as a hardcore casual fan, um, um, seeing something new, or seeing this era, is something that you've never seen before unless you played Knights of the Old Republic, and even still, that's not even the same time period.
Right.
So what is there to complain about? Is new, let it happen. That's why we were saying the whole time, before you hate, let it cook. Let's see what they're trying to say, see what their story is. And so, people on the first episode was like, "Oh, what was that? Well, what did that mean?" Well, I don't fucking know. It was episode 1 and there's 7 left. You know what I mean? Or the one where I see this one a lot, where it's like, why did May just give up her fight? Man, we really probably need to like break down that video of from day and night to the end. Man, bro, deep acting wise, as far as the story goes. I'm not talking about like the meta narrative. I'm talking about in the story what was going on from episode 4 to 8. Man.
Well, let's
And
talk about
so,
that for a minute because that
yeah.
was actually one of the criticisms. I'm on another show, Superhero Speak, and
Mhm.
one of the other criticisms were kind of some character choices. Why did May just do what she did? Because, what did May do? Well, May basically gave up. She's now with the Jedi. She let herself be mind wiped by Queermere. Um, why did she do that? And, to me, listen, these are two teenage girls. And I don't know if you live with teenagers, but you there's no way you could look at the show and say, well, those decisions those teenagers did, that's bad writing. Like, have you even fucking tried to understand the thought process of a teenager? I hope not, because it'll drive you insane as
Yeah,
someone that
it's
lives with
weird.
a 15-year-old.
It's weird.
So,
I apologize to my parents.
right,
Sorry.
exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
not really, but like, sorry.
So imagine a world where like 15, 16-year-old teenagers can use the force.
They're a little older than that, but I get what you're saying.
Right. Even a 22-year-old. I mean, look at Hawk to a girl and shit like that. Like
And
imagine.
and young people using the force unindoctrinated from the force cult.
Right. And in this High Republic era, I'll say this. They're using like the mind control shit and the mind reading shit way more than we're used to
Way more.
in like
That was a couple of things to add to that. So the whole thing with May and Osha is and I just want to say I predicted the show. I think the episode 3
when
review,
you said
I
they were
predicted the whole
switched. Yep.
I predicted the whole show. And I didn't word it 100% accurately, but I was on the right track. And here's what I mean by that.
Do Sears ever?
The whole show was telling you that Osha is the precocious one, but May's the one that actually has the power. I'm sorry, I switched those up. May is the precocious one. Osha is the one that has the power. Osha doesn't want to use the power because she's afraid of the power. Because she's afraid of that power, she don't know or she doesn't want to be a part of what this shit is because she just want to be free or thinks she wants to be free because this is just too much for me. May, on the other hand, is like, look what I can do. This is fun. I can trap this bird thing. I can, make Mother Coral super happy by how I train. I can block for my sister because my sister won't block. But throughout the show, especially so now that and I was starting to think this, but I didn't want to say it because like I didn't know what they were really meaning, and I thought they were gonna draw it out more. And then the last episode showed it, so it makes it make sense. So spoiler alert: when Chimere was talking about you need to kill a Jedi without a weapon, I was thinking he was talking about force choking and like whatever, but I didn't
Yeah.
really because like how can you just walk up to a Jedi and force choke him? But then as the show was going on, I was like, oh, you gotta emotionally compromise the Jedi and put them in a situation. So she was the it was the progression and then regression of May. So she kills Indara, which she shouldn't have been able to do. Indara was the strongest one of them all, outside of Kalnaka, like physically. In the Force, Indara was the strongest one of all, so she shouldn't have been able to kill her. Torben was what was giving up the game of how you actually get them to be vulnerable enough so you can just you know what I mean? But then
Right.
when she found out
Yeah.
Osha was alive, she immediately lost her nerve. So it wasn't like, oh, how can you give up this thing and da 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 da. It wasn't something that she wanted to do anyway. She had no idea what happened. She thought that she was basing her ability to use the force off of her emotions or whatnot. But then when she saved the little kid, or when she saw the little kid in the bar and saved the bartender, that to me, I said, note that's going to mean something. That meant she never had the nerve. That meant that she was the one that was closer to the light side. Osha just wanted to be away from the witches. I don't want to do this witch stuff. I don't like this is boring. I want to go outside. I want to trap birds in my own lonesome and then, be a hypocrite and get mad when my sister does it. That was another thing that was cueing me a little bit. So when we get to obviously the scene where they switch and then leading that to the end, and you see what Osha does. And so my thing about this is realistically by that time, the one thing that I don't like about the story, right? Oh, John, there's something that John doesn't like about the
Oh
story.
shit!
Here's where they fucked up a little bit. May could have just said, Soul's been lying to you the whole time from the get-go. That's it. Before they started fighting, she could have been done said that shit on the one planet where they trick Chimera for a second. She could have been in the speeder, looking at each other, soul lining you, hit the gas and drive. But you didn't do that. You wait 7 episodes, and then to me, her anger about finding out that that Soul actually killed Mother Anastasia. Um, it's like at this point, like you really that mad? You really that mad? But story wise, what that was I got this guy in my ear getting me to look at things another way. I got
Mm-hmm.
my sister over here who free. I got these Jedi who never actually really wanted me in the first place. I'm trying to do the right thing to do the right thing, but realistically, like I'm about to break. I'm about to crack. Oh, Osha. Yes, I killed your mother. All right, nigga, I'm gonna have to choke you then. You gonna have to go. You gonna have to go, and I'm gonna turn this
Right.
lightsaber red, bro. Like this was gonna happen. And so that right there showed that she was the most powerful one in the first place. Chimera was saying, when Osha was like, oh well, Soul's gonna find you. He's a powerful Jedi, and he turns around and he's like, you're the one with the strength in the Force. Everyone can see how strong you are in the Force, except for you. So once that changes and you let go, I mean, maybe not in the way that she did, but when you let go, you'll realize that. And then she had that moment where, hey, this motherfucker right here. And then you got May talking about, hey, I want him to hold himself accountable to the council for his crimes. Who is that? Who does that sound like? Osha. So since they're one and the same, right? That's the other thing
Mm-hmm.
that we learned about this
Yeah.
is that they aren't necessarily the virgins. They were created due to the virgins. So there's that part. So since they are one and the same, they're the same person. What I think it's one of those things where it's like the conversation we were kind of having a little bit earlier. There's people like me who are outspoken and outgoing and not afraid to put it out there, right? My perception literally online is that I'm evil. That's what people think of me. They think that I'm anti-Semitic, which is the furthest thing from the truth. They think that I hate white people, which is clearly the furthest thing from the truth, especially considering that my kids are biracial, all of them. Uh, uh, People think that I hate people who, are on the other side of the aisle or whatever, and that's not true. I probably am. I try to be. I try to hold myself accountable to be, the most humane person that I know, and I try to understand as much people that I know, right? But it comes off, especially when I get into it and I get passionate, it comes off like I'm being mean. We gotta change the system and we gotta make things better for everybody and da 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 da. This passionate comes off as anger but that's just how.
Aggression.
Right. That's also kind of how black people or how people view black people's passion in general anyway, as it's angry and violent and whatever, which is not true. But then at the same time, right? Let me use a good politician. Let me see. Um all right, fuck it. He's about to not be president anymore. You got a Joe Biden. Dude's had his comb over, right? For 97,000 years, right? He's been saying even though in the 70s he did not. There was an article about how fucking his mouth was a mouth back then. But as he learned political correctness, they always have to say the right thing, and maybe it may not be the right thing to like the world, but it's the right thing for the mindset of the society that we live in, right? At the end of the day, that dude has so much blood on his hands, he's worse than Homelander at this point. So who's the evil one? I didn't fund a genocide. I didn't create 3 crime bills that created the biggest incarcerated population on the face of the earth. I didn't do those things. So how am I the evil one? When you break my message down, it's love and understand everyone so we can come together and have a society where we don't have to struggle and fight with each other and we can be together and help each other out. That's ultimately what I want. I mean, it sounds foo and whatever, but that's what I want. This dude over here bombing kids, like literally right this second. but he's so nice, and he's like your grandpa, and he did, 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 did. So this is kind of that same thing where people have their perceptions of things and kind of play into it. May was created from the dark side and was anointed, if you will, as a witch of the coven of the NSA, I don't know for what they were called. But
Pretty
and
much.
then you have the chick who don't want to be a part of that. And so that seems like, oh, she don't want to be on the dark side stuff. She might be on the right track. But actually, she's so tormented in her and twisted in her own mind that as soon as someone lies to her, we'll get to that in a second, because Chimera was spitting game. And what I mean by game is lies to women. Um, um, but you got one guy telling you stuff that you want to hear, and all of a sudden your actual issue, I mean, it gives you power, but like your actual issue comes out, your issues come out. You know what I mean? And you become what you figured that you would never become. You become someone that you were indoctrinated to fight against, because that's who you already were and you were just hiding it. And so I think that's something that people do in life, where they fake it till they make it. Because like people in corporate America, especially high level, I'm sure they don't want to really actually do the things that they have to do in those board meetings. But they put on that dress, or they put on that suit, and they say, company line. And then, fire 75,000 people when they need work and they've been loyal workers and things such as that. And then at the same time, there's people that look mean or look this or look like that, but they truly are the nicest people in the world. So it's not about perceptions. Perception isn't reality, I think, is a good meta theme that we can pick from this. So, I got into it,
Big
but
time.
I got into it because I was watching it the second time drew it out, but watching it the third time and letting it flow with all these things in your head and knowing what's going to happen next, as you see these things. And I saw the ramp up to May doing what she thinks she had to do, and then her descent into being a normal person. And then I saw OSHA doing the fake thing that she needed to do, and then her descent and being the person that she is, which is an evil bitch. So, we'll see how that plays, being lied to by Chimera, but we'll get to that in a second. We'll see how that plays out and how that connects to Plagueis, because I think there's some manipulation going on behind the scenes with that too. But for those who say that this show has bad writing and this and direction or whatever, how did I pick all that up then?
Yeah.
How did I pick all that up if it wasn't shown to me? So
Yeah.
it's really weird. The show is way deeper than it presents itself to be, while being fun and lighthearted. Especially, last thing, the scene where Basil was chasing May around the ship.
Yeah.
It's
I actually
comedic
hate
relief,
that
man. We
fucking.
needed that shit.
I
We
understand. I
needed
hate
that
that
shit, bro.
fucking dude, though. That's
I
actually one
get
thing I
it.
didn't get that on that whole
I
fucking
get
thing.
it. I get it. But you needed that. That was a very heavy episode. When you go back to it and just like get in, like feel it again, that whole soul 7 stages of grief all in one scene. Oh, the third time I'm like, oh, and I know what I'm expecting, and I'm just watching it because we waited a week the first time. The second time I was like analyzing, and then the third time I let it hit me, bro. Jackie just died, bro, and he's
And got disrespected, right?
and then he starts touching the things. And then so the first time I was like, how could he just do that? And the second time I'm like, why did he just do that? And the third time I'm like, there's what he said. This is what he said before he started touching the screen. This is not how a Jedi behaves. Stop it. And then he gets into the oh, this shit is dope. And it's not how a Jedi behaves. And that's why you died, fam. Oh,
So I
the show is
think,
great, Don.
yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that the reason why this has such a campaign against it for multiple reasons, but one of the big reasons I think is so all this goes down, right? And Venestra, who is ultimately the one that reports to Yoda, she determines that Soul went batshit crazy and he killed everybody. Hence why we can say, oh, the Sith have been extinct for millennia, because Venestra, in this instance, was clearly Sith, did not report it as such.
You think she's a Sith?
I don't think Venestra is a Sith, no. I think
Oh,
she
okay, okay.
is our focal point as to how the Jedi fell.
Yeah.
I think she's the one that shows us where at least her particular unit, which seems pretty influential given the events, they're more concerned about how the Jedi look and perform
Right.
politically than
Right.
they are actually being effective at being the guardians of justice and peace and
So
all
that's
that
why
jazz.
I'm very interested in Venestra's origin, because she comes off as, I don't know how to explain it. So the way to make it make sense is, I was watching. I love this podcast called Hardcore History with Dan Carlin. Love that guy. Love his voice, because that's what really draws you in. His voice, the way he tells stories, the way he tells historical stories, whatever. And so the podcast that me and Mara have been watching is Supernova of the East, which is talking about the rise of Japan in the uh, early, well, in the early 20th century, and what they did with that rise to power. And it's pretty fucking bad. But um he starts off the story with, there was this guy in the Japanese army who was stationed in the Philippines in like 1944 or something like that. And no one came to relieve him of his duties, even though, and so he was in the jungle in the Philippines, and had killed people and killed kids and killed women and killed, people throughout the years. I think he finally got out in like 1975 or something like that. So what they had to do was bring his army general or commander, who at this time was like retired and was like a florist at, you know what I mean? Like, he was not
Right.
about that life no more. They had to fly him to the Philippines and relieve dude of his duties, because he was just he every time he would see a newspaper, because the Japan had been like trying to fly newspapers over there to be like, hey, like, look, we're done, Japan's okay. And he's like, no, it's propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. So I say all that to say that I want to know what happened in Vernestra's life that led her to the point where she seems to be, she's not in command. She's not, I think that the way they have the hierarchy is a lot different in this time period than the one we know. I'm sure there's a council that Yoda sits on top of, but she's like,
She's the CIA director.
yeah, like, yeah, I can see that. Like the CIA director, right? Yeah.
Or the
So like,
FBI, Comey, I
well,
don't know.
I'm trying to give it like a Clone Wars comp, because that would be the closest to a military type that we've seen. We haven't really seen much.
So she would be like the head of the intelligence, like the Empire. We've seen in Andor where they've got that intelligence department.
Right, the
Yeah,
ISB.
yeah,
Oh, the parallels. Look at you, Don. Look at you. All
right.
right, yeah. That Vernestra is the ISB of the Jedi. Bam. Perfect
Yep.
comparison. That's kind of what I was looking for. So that's what makes it even more astounding. But anyway, so she's in charge, but like, she ain't really in charge. So I want to know what happened in her life to make her so vigilant against the Senate getting into their business, and what happened with this Padawan, that when she realized what was happening, she was like, okay, I gotta hush this up. There's a little more to it, that, again, I don't personally think, I mean, we had this conversation before, but I don't personally think that Vernestra did something to hurt Chimere. I think Chimere did something to hurt Venestra, which made her have to do that. Chimere is lying. He's lying about the feelings that we're supposed to feel
That's
about
a
him, and
thread
his,
they left.
oh, hello, and his like goofiness and all that kind of stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's the gaslight. That's the gaslight right there. Prime example. May and Osha are in the cave. Hey, what's that scar? Oh, they threw me away. And he goes, or Osha goes, so your Jedi master did this to you? Pause. If you've been abused, and you're around someone who understands where you're coming from, you're gonna dump on that motherfucker. You're gonna be like, "Oh, let me fucking tell you, this much," and he did this, and you feel me, girl? And then
Right.
he did it. You're gonna dump, and what does he do? So this is cortosis.
All
It's
right.
the thing that got rid of the lightsaber. What
Yeah.
happened? What happened? Chimere, what happened? He can't get into it because if he gets into it, he gonna look like a jackass to someone he's trying to convert. She wasn't converted at that point in time. She was getting there. She was getting there, but she needed to put the helmet on to feel what the dark side felt like in order to kind of turn a little bit. At that point, she was too fresh. And that's what's kind of getting me about Chimere is because like I'm peeping you, fam. Like, yeah, you got the arms, you got the little back muscles that make me a little jealous right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you got you seem like you're being smooth, and then he's Jason from the Good Place, so he's always a little funny. He's got that kind of vibe. Um, but there's just so much that we know that he's lying about and that he's telling half truths about. You got to go back and watch it a little bit more closely again, especially when he's talking about when May and him are walking through the forest. And he was like, "So, you're really making the master mad and da 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 da." And then when she was like, what do you owe him or whatever? And then he got like we're weird. Like the little things like that are the things that are showing me that like, all right, bro, we're supposed to fall for you, but season 2, we bet not. Bet not. You can't we can't do another falling for the villain thing. We got to stop doing that. People got to stop doing that. But yeah, it's it's one of those things where I want to know the past so I can better understand Vernestra because as of right now, that's my most hated character. I hate her more
Yeah.
than than Basil.
Yeah, I
And
would
her
definitely put her
Padawan
above
is annoying
Basil.
too. Mog should have been the one that got three struck. Not Jackie. Jackie should have stayed. Mog needed to be the one to go. Like spit it out, Mog. Unless you have a stutter, then I feel bad for saying that. But spit it out, Mog.
Right. Yeah, well, what do you think about the fact that, she lied to Yoda? Do you think Yoda should have been able to, like, call her bluff? That's one complaint that I had to deal with, was that, oh, Yoda, this corrupts Yoda, this besmirches Yoda, because when Venestra, told him this story, he didn't know that she was lying.
This is so that also tells me that they don't understand the original trilogy and they super didn't understand the sequel trilogy. Um it took Yoda dying to realize he fucked up for 1,000 years. He always was fucked up. He always fucked up. Clearly, in different eras, he fucked up. He's not. He shouldn't be the leader of the Jedi Council. Like, yeah, he might live to 900, and yeah, he might be strong with the Force because of his species, but we still don't even know yet. Which, at this point, I think they're doing on purpose, because once it's all said and done, I think we're gonna tear Yoda down to build him back up. I think we're gonna. I think what it's ultimately gonna lead to is Yoda was lied to, and he didn't pick up on the lie because I think he was clouded by something. I don't know. We got to see what happens in season 2. Um, and then so he made missteps based off of that lie. But the biggest thing about it is Palpatine was under his nose. He was reporting to the motherfucker for years. So you are the worst. You suck. You are the Joe Biden of the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
And so like we may adore him because he's green and he talks funny and it was the comic relief back in the day, but then the symbol of the ancient wise order. No, they suck, bro. They suck. That's why they did not
It's what
exist in
gets
the
people
original trilogies
uncomfortable.
because they suck. So ultimately, I don't think Vernestra was not correct, but I don't think she's wrong. Whatever she needs, that we'll figure out why next season. Because I think the reason why she's hiding Chimere is justifiable. So therefore, her throwing Soul under the bus to protect whatever else is going on, to then protect the order from the Senate, I think is well intentioned. But Vernestra said something in the speech that she was giving to the Senate about Soul that I think was projection, and I think she said it to OSHA too, or I'm sorry, May, that um, you know, the love and the feelings that he had for them, because he did care about May, but he thought she died. Um, the love and feelings that he had for them justified all of his mistakes and led him down that road. I didn't say that right, but that's the gist of it. And so, but that's you, Venestra. That's and ultimately that's what the senator was saying the whole time. That's all y'all. All y'all are like this. All y'all are one. Oh shit, I remember you. You were my first love, and then you just got your head chopped off, and I don't know how to deal with this. One bad day away from turning into Sith. Everybody understood that. Anissa picked up on that shit. The senator picked up on that shit. The everyone else who's around these force users who like don't use the force the way they do are picking up on this shit, except for them for millennia. And so, ultimately, I would say that, um, um, in a way, even though I don't agree with this as the optics and everything, but the balancing of the force with Anakin was to murder the younglings and destroy, maybe not murder the younglings, but destroy the Jedi Order, because the Jedi Order was manipulating, emotionally manipulating the if you will, the light side of the force. And you
Mm-hmm.
can't pull on the force, or the force is going to snap back and hit you in the face like a rubber band, and your rubber band was Anakin. So that leads me to a complaint that people have, is that the twins being born as a dyad or a virgins in the force, or create, the force creating
Yeah.
life or whatever makes Anakin not special. And so I'm gonna plant this pin, because I think the point that I'm trying to make with this is deeper. I just already had mentioned it, so I might as well just put it here. Is that um that's code for the thing that we were talking about before the show started. Anakin isn't special because these two black girls did it first. How does that make them not special? Think about that for a second. So, with that said, Anakin is special. Anakin was the chosen one, but the prophecy didn't look the way that you want it to look, because with that yin and yang and chaos and order, chaos sometimes is genocidal. I don't agree with that. I don't believe people should behave in that way. But if we're going to look at things and take the this theory to its logical extreme, that is what would need to happen in order to balance you emotionally manipulating people for order. We're gonna have to do some chaos, and we're gonna have this chaos be in rule for a while, to then maybe not have someone get rid of the chaos the way that we tried to get rid of the chaos last time. You see what I'm saying? Which culminates in the everybody coming to destroy the empire at the end of Force Awakens. That's how you don't bend the force the way that it needs to go. Everybody do their part. Everybody play a role. Everybody hold each other accountable, and get rid of clearly this oppressive, fascistic, murderous cult. You know what I mean? And you don't beat a cult with another cult. You beat a cult with humanity and community and understanding and diversity and inclusion and equity. And I know that people are like turned off by these things, but like, I'm not your enemy. If you were to come to if you're a fan of the series or the franchise, and you don't like me because of my race, come over and hang out and look at the stuff that I have and the games that I have and the conversations that we could have. Like, what are we arguing about? Who cares if I'm black? Who cares if if I was gay or whatever the situation? Who cares? None of that matters. What matters is being together. Because when you're together, you can't have pulls on the force. You do give your balance. When we're together, right? I can sit you down and be like, hey, Don, There's things that you're doing or saying or behaving or whatever that's making us uncomfortable. Maybe this isn't something that we should do. Well, why are these things going down? Is there something that we can do to help? And as a community, we get through your problems and we figure out what your situation is. And guess what happens to Don? He is healed. And he don't have to murder younglings because we took the shit too far. We healed him for real because we understood that he's got emotions. And instead of saying, hey, nope, cut those emotions off, we say, hey, let's dig into those a little bit. Why are you feeling this way? What are the things that are going down? Okay, I get where you're coming from, but so let me explain how these people are feeling based off of how you behave. Do you like that the way that do you want to feel the way that they're feeling based off of what you do? No. So let's change our behavior and come together and be friends and talk it out and da 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 da. Now it sounds foo, but that's better than war and genocide and whatever the fuck kind of society that we have today. And that's what the story has been about since episode 4. That's what it was talking about in episode 4. They showed it in a weird way, but that's what they were talking about in episode 4. That's what they were talking about in Empire Strikes Back. Again, they showed it in a weird way. We could break that down one of these days if people really want me to.
We will.
I will show this to you. I will prove it to you. But every episode was showing you, hey, this is really shitty. We probably shouldn't do it this way. And this was what will happen if you don't listen. So, Yoda, hey, Luke, calm the fuck down. I know you want to do all that, but what did all of that lead to? You see what I mean? Like if he would have just chilled, he probably could have beat Vader the first time. If he would have just chilled, and all this would have been done. There would have been no Battle of Endor. We wouldn't have needed the Empire to be around so long. No, this motherfucker goes and does all this shit by himself because he's looking for Han still. And then he don't even go back to Yoda until the motherfucker about to die, and then he don't even learn it all. So he don't even really truly get the true lessons of the Jedi. So the fact that they told him he was a Jedi was another fucking Jedi lie. Like this is what I'm talking about. This it's the circle. Yoda sucks. So understanding that, look at this, read this as the Jedi are flawed. If you read it as Jedi are flawed, and you will introspect as to, well, what happened? That's what I did when I watched the first original sequel trilogy. I was like, okay, what is this Clone Wars? Okay. How did he become that? Okay. But who designed that flaw in the Death Star? Ain't nobody gonna do nothing about Alderaan. You know what I'm saying? Like these are the things that I'm thinking about when I'm watching it. I'm not just like lightsabers, action, and like if that's how people see things, cool. But then don't be upset when the guy who was making the deep story gets deeper in the story, and then it loses you a little bit because you weren't paying attention the whole time. And that's the thing about it. Like let's do that, and then when we do that, we can see what Vernestra might be doing, and we can see how messed up Yoda is gonna be, because we know what we know is he was told something, and then what we know is 100 years later he still don't act on that information, and then gets destroyed by the people that have been in the shadows starting from the end of the show. So just look at it that way. Stop looking at the Jedi as your righteous space cops, because they're not righteous space cops. They were weird from the get-go. I understood Anakin until he killed the younglings. He was right. He's better than all of you. So why is he not on the council? Because you want to control his emotions. Step back. What did the senator say? Well, what are you going to do when someone's emotions get a little bit too far? Well, you set that up, Jedi. You did that. So how are the Jedi perfect? It makes no sense to me. You to romanticize them in this manner is the same way that people romanticize the police. Like literally. And the police are and for how I'm trying to make that picture is the people that have the blue flags on their cars, right? When you get them at the bar and you're talking to them and you're like, so if a cop pulled you over, what would you do? Oh yeah, fuck them cops.
Right. Yeah, they get fuck the police real quick.
But you got a blue thing. But I the cops need to handle them. I see.
Yeah.
So you thought that you were on the side where you get to do whatever you wanted and you get to do whatever you wanted against everybody else. But then when we break that and we show you that they're the ones that are fucked up, now all of a sudden it's like, no, we need to support them. Nah, it's weird, bro. That's weird, bro. And that's what they're doing with the Jedi. That's basically it.
I hear you. No, I'm right there with you. I mean, and this is coming from someone that, again, used to watch the original trilogy on VHS over and over and over again because of a little fucked up childhood. And
Oh
I
yeah.
grew up with the Legends of the Clone Wars of Anakin Skywalker and the Jedi. But still, I'm somehow able to realize that, they weren't all righteous. Um,
Right.
you know, I can be into an ideal, I can be into the American ideal, but still say, the implementation though got pretty fucked up and pretty soon. Um,
And then the craziest thing about that point that you just made right there is if they would just give it to us, we would all have the dream. But that's the whole point. They don't want to give it to us. So it's not really a dream. And you should see the gaslight for right there. But go on.
yeah, no, right on. So again, this is somebody who has romanticized the Jedi for umpteen years, right? But I can still, but that's Lucas's whole point, okay? Is the light side is the balanced side, but we can still see how that's used the wrong way, right? And fall and go from a good entity to a hurtful entity. We could see that. This is a story we're being told. And this is perhaps the very origin of that story being told. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, if you don't like it, then don't like it. Guess what? You don't have to ever watch it again. It's not like, it's High Republic, so you can completely disregard it if you want. But I like what it adds to the universe myself. And I like I enjoy, as a fan of the sequel trilogy, I enjoy their reinforcing of what Luke is trying to tell you.
Right.
This group, this Jedi that everyone is putting on this pedestal, thinks going to come save the universe, is not what you think it is not this infallible God that always makes the right choice. It was full of people that were real humans that could really, or whatever species at that point, real people that could fuck up. And we're seeing that here in this series. And I don't think it should make you uncomfortable.
As you
So,
said that, you know what I pictured? So one, you were saying that I was literally picturing the scene that you were mentioning. Who told them that? That part that you just said that the Jedi were wrong the whole time. Who told us that in the story, in the sequel trilogy?
right, the
The
beings
people that
were,
they mythologized the most of all characters in
right,
the whole franchise, Luke Skywalker.
right.
And so that just made me kind of realize why people are so upset with Luke and so upset that they ruined Luke when the sequel trilogy came out. Perfect analogy. Imagine if Donald Trump goes on stage right now and is like, "You know what? I've been really racist this whole time. And I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I think I'm going to sit down and introspect with myself to figure out what it is that I don't like about myself that makes me behave in this way. I apologize to all the women that I've hurt. I apologize to all the businesses that I've destroyed. I apologize for my behavior on the campaign trail, things that I've said, people in other countries that I've hurt. I really want to take this time to, if I'm going to be your leader, to let you know that I actually really want to do things to change, because I went back and I looked at the history of what we are trying to accomplish with this movement that I was doing before, and it all was just failure. It was failure every time. It failed in the Civil War. It failed in every country that's always tried to maintain it for more than 20 years. It's failing now, realistically, if you look deep down into it. And the only reason why it's successful is people are stuck in a cult. And I don't want you to be in that cult anymore. So I apologize for what I did before. That's literally what Luke did to Luke Skywalker fans. They're like, what? You ain't gonna murder everybody with your lightsaber. What you
Right,
mean?
right. You ain't going genocide?
You
Oh
ain't gonna
shit!
genocide everybody. I thought you was gonna go down to this planet and then just spinny whipty wood and wopty wop everybody. Like that's
You
I'm
ain't
pretty sure
gonna,
what they thought the secret trilogy was gonna
you
be.
ain't gonna whoop Kylo Ren's ass.
Right.
Oh shit!
And he did whip Kylo Ren's ass
Yeah.
as a projection. I think that's what broke. I think that's what broke Kylo or Ben. I think because he was mad and he was trying to show face, but I think that scene right there made him cement himself on the dark side and do what he was doing at the beginning of Rise of Skywalker. But Rey was his chimere, but in the opposite sense,
Mm-hmm.
where she's like, I was gonna give you this. I was gonna give you this pussy, but you weird, bro. Like I was trying to tell you this whole time.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to throw it back at you.
Right. Right.
Shut the fuck up for a second and let me tell you. Like, damn. Like you put your hand out and I was like, are you gonna do the genocide and be a racist piece of shit? Yes. Well then I can't throw it at
Yeah.
you then.
Right.
Damn.
Right. Yeah. You could just not
Yeah,
be
so Luke was
Space
telling
Hitler.
you, Luke told you what it was, and you didn't like that because you do want the violence, you do want the this, and you do want the that, and the whole story's been telling you is that's the reason why these people fell, is because these monks became, or well, these cultists became monks, and those monks became soldiers,
They became generals, given,
and they right,
infinite supply of lives to use at their disposal. And
right,
we could see
right.
how that had varying results. Sure, you had your Plo Koon, you had your Obi-Wan, you had your Anakin, who valued the lives of the clone troopers, but then you had all sorts of other Jedi that like treated them like trash.
In Obi-Wan, I'm trying to remember, did Obi-Wan give the clone trooper change?
Yes.
Okay. I was trying to remember or not because I was about to say something, but I was like, wait, I don't actually remember if he gave him change or not. But he did. And even though they probably could have showed his empathy for the clone troopers a little bit more in context of this really quick, weird, pacey, like if we want to talk about weird pacing and acting and whatever, like it's Obi-Wan, even though I still enjoy that show. That show actually is really bad. Like how it was executed, but
Oh.
I got what it was trying to tell me. Um, but that shows that was in that universe, that was his, ally moment. I got your back because he's in hiding too, so I can't just be like, oh, clone trooper, come over here, hello there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hello
Like,
there. Hello there. Come here.
you
We'll
can't
have a
do all
drink.
that. He's got to hide, so I'm gonna give you some
Remember the
change.
Clone Wars? We killed so many
Yeah.
separatists.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I get what you're saying, man. And I just wish people, I don't know. It's one of those things where here's what I think. I think that a lot of the quote unquote fans that are acting like for the most part, I mean obviously like not our circles, but the loud young ones, they don't really understand what we went through. It's like to make it make sense. It's like the kids who had to grow up waiting for the Funimation translation to watch Dragon Ball Z, and then the kids
Right.
who watch Kai.
Right.
Don't talk to me about Dragon Ball. Don't you dare.
Right.
How many episodes did you
Shut
see? You
your
say you saw
motherfucking mouth.
26? 26 you got to the Saiyan saga in episode 3. Get the fuck out of my face. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me about no Dragon Ball Z, bro. I understand where you're coming from and you know the characters, but you can't talk to me about no Dragon Ball Z if you haven't watched. Like I literally watched every episode of Dragon Ball because that's what it is. It's Dragon Ball. We just have our demarcations for
Yeah, for the
for show purposes.
subsequent
It's Dragon
series.
Ball. I've read the manga. I've watched every single episode. You ain't gonna hit me with no 26 episode shit talking about you are a fan of Dragon Ball. So that's kind of how I feel about these newer, younger Star Wars fans, where it's like you don't know what we went through and how many times we watched these movies to think about these things in this way. And so you can someone I introduced to Star Wars, when I introduce them to Star Wars, I make them watch it in broadcast order, the movies at least. So 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. And so then they feel like they get Star Wars. Bitch, no, you got episode 503 of Clone Wars, and we go to StarWars.com, get the Clone Wars broadcast or chronological order list, watch
And
all
then
them
start
episodes. So
going
that's
through
7
them.
seasons. Oh, you think you done? Nope, you got Rebels. Oh, you thought you was done after
Gotta
that?
watch
Nope, you got
Rebels.
Resistance.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? And so when you put that all together, that's when you kind of realize that you either don't really know these movies or you've been a fan of this, you don't really know this franchise, and you think you do because there's stuff in it that you like, or for the old heads, you've never really understood it. All that time introspecting, all that time wearing your VHS out, you never really asked like real media literacy, critical thinking questions that'll help you understand this plot. You just wanted to see bang a boom boom pow, and when your boom boom pow man said, "Don't give me my lightsaber no more. This is stupid. We're gonna destroy the Jedi Order." You're like, wait, what? And then have judged it ever since. But um, I don't know about you. If we lived in the Star Wars world, I ain't joining that war. You joining that war?
Oh no,
I ain't shooting
absolutely.
nobody. So what do we want the boom boom pow for? Like that's one thing that's weird to me about the people that watch stuff specifically for the boys fans who have missed the whole plot the whole time because they're like, superheroes fighting and squashing faces and putting people up against walls and
Yeah.
lasering the whole swaths of people. Like you weren't paying attention. You were just looking at the boom boom pow. Okay, so if you were in Times Square and Homelander lasered you, would you be happy? No. So you don't want the boom boom pow. That's the point of 90% of these shows. You don't want the boom boom pow. We got the boom boom pow in there for entertainment and excitement because we're desensitized weirdos. But once you get past that, you can realize our message is let's treat each other with kindness. And the only way that I can teach you that lesson is to have some boom boom pow and some titties in the middle, which is a little weird. We need to get past that. And then based off of that, that's why I think people do not like The Acolyte. It does have its boom boom pow, but all of it is justified. It has people with titties in it, but they not out. And then those ones that are out, they don't like men for the most part. I mean, Mandela probably does, and Daphne probably does, but every other female that I saw in there
A
was
thick
lesbian.
ass.
So then you're like, oh, I can't even have sex with these characters that I'm immersed with, which is also weird. That's weird. So watch stuff and treat actors and people as people. And then when you do that, there's this thing that happens. The plot will start making sense to you. And then you can have deeper conversations about media that you're watching instead of being happy that someone's head got smashed off or blown up or a lightsaber fight happened and it was spinny. And even though I like that too, a lot of those aren't justified, like the Clone Wars and the stuff that was happening in the Clone Wars. And granted, it was a kid show; they didn't show it in that light. But I'm sure if there
It
was
was a
a
kid show
Clone
for
Wars
like the
spinoff,
first 3 seasons, and then
true,
they started getting
true.
pretty into it.
Once the broadcast order starts becoming the chronological order, that's when it starts becoming less kid
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
I think what happened was they were trying to get put on, and then what I read was they had a certain amount of episodes that they need to put out, and they had storylines and arcs that like weren't complete yet. But they picked the most kid-friendly stuff to put in for the season, and then the kids, and then like by season 3, it's like, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? The Battle at Finch's War. We're watching military scenes for 5 minutes straight. Like there's scenes literally where it's clone troopers and droids fighting each other for a minute and 45 seconds. Like, why are
Yeah.
we still watching them shoot each other for a minute now?
It's
The whole
Grizzly.
squad just died. What? And then here's Anakin. Come on, Padawan, let's jump over here and do. Like, wait a minute. You ain't gonna adjust all these soldiers that just died. Like,
Yeah.
oh man. So that's my stuff. Like, I get people don't have to um think about some of these things or whatever, but that's the point of books. That's the point of real art. And what I mean by real art is most of the TV shows that a lot of people are getting into aren't about anything. Or they start off, it's like me and Mara are watching The Bear. And The Bear was great. Season 1, his family dynamics and his ambition to be a chef and, changing his brother's restaurant around. And then season 2 was like, like they're building it and they're getting it together. And that scene was funny. But then season 3 is like they got the restaurant. And then like every episode is like this, like, it's supposed to be this like artistic think piece, but like there's no plot. And then there's whole like 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time where there's like no actual story, but like these weird cuts and like, what the fuck are you trying to tell me? Is this dude gonna get back with his girlfriend or not? Like,
Yeah, man, that's like comics nowadays, man. That's why I can't
right,
handle it. It's like $5 a piece. You don't do shit.
right. So the best art is art that draws your attention, keeps you entertained, but also gives you a message. And so I think Avatar is the most crass Hollywood version of that, where it's like James Cameron has this white guy, this rich liberal white guy message, right? But he does it in the most white guy Hollywood way, where like even though he's like, well, what do you mean this is like cultural appropriation? They're blue. But then you go into how he created the Na'vi people, and he's like, I based this off of a Native American group. So yeah, bro, we like, you told on yourself.
The
like,
definition of appropriation.
Right, exactly. And so overall, at the end of the day, is his message good about land conservation and taking care of the planet and being understanding of different cultures? And yes, those movies are absolutely beautiful. And the only reason why I'm throwing shit at them is because it's Hollywood and they got to do the thing to do the thing. But if you get past all that and you see what's happening, you can really enjoy a story more. The Acolyte to me was about people lying to themselves about who and what they are. Now, I'm not saying you need to go turn to the dark side. I think that's more of I think Osho is more of a metaphor. If we're gonna get deep, what the real themes of this are, or whatever, I think Osha's a metaphor. Considering that she's one person split into two, that is your yin and your devil and your angel, your yin and your yang, your good side, your bad side, right? And so you got people that fake getting into one being good, and you got people fake getting into one being bad. But be yourself. And I think ultimately when we get to season 2, that's what season 2 is going to be about. It's Osha realizing that Chimera is a lying piece of shit. She got in too deep and she needs to find her sister and they need to be themselves. And then that's their freedom. But I don't think they're going to survive because where were they? Why haven't we heard about them? Right. And sometimes the way that you're going to be able to see these messages is a show with a black girl that made an interesting, I thought it was pretty entertaining and cool, but obviously other people have different opinions, but makes a Juneteenth video and you think it's about you. Like at that point, like I think maybe we're jumping the shark a little bit and we're missing the point. That you could have a good theme, good message, good point, something that you can think about, hold with you if you look at the characters as people instead of, this black girl that's talking this racial justice stuff that I don't like. But then, all right, let me oppress you for your whole life and let me see if you want to talk about justice, and maybe you do a Juneteenth video, you know what I'm saying, talk about all the black people that are oppressing you or whatever. A guy like me would be like, you know what? I kind of understand your point. If I needed that to be told to me. And so it doesn't need to be told. Just enjoy Star Wars. Star Wars is for everyone. I know that in the 70s and 80s, and for the most part, the whole franchise has had white leads and things like that in it. And that I don't think that really meant anything. I think now that they're having all these different people in there is just showing that this universe is, and always will be for everyone. No matter what you are, what you believe, what you look like, any of that stuff, because for me, the thing that I took out of Star Wars is even though there wasn't black people in it, I never really saw, except for the Empire, I never really saw anyone be like, "Oh, get this alien away from me!" Like, you know what I'm saying?
Like, clutch my pearls. It's an Athorian.
Look at his nose. Like, no, nobody ever.
An Athorian is in my store. They're going to steal from me. All those.
You know what gave me that vibe? even though this is a weird scene, it's always stuck with me. My buddy here doesn't like you. And then you look over and it's the ugliest fuck. That's your friend?
Yeah.
What? I was like 7. So I was like, what? That's your friend? And
Hey,
then the more
yeah.
and more I watched it, I was like, that's that guy's friend. I mean,
Yeah.
he got his arm cut off by Obi-Wan because his friend was uncomfortable and he was sticking up for his friend. That's a good ass friend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like it's little
he
shit
looks
like that.
like you threw acid on Bill Murray, but that's this guy's
Right.
friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, Star Wars is for everyone. It's not just for you. It's not
In
just for the
Return of the
Jedi.
Jedi, the Twi'lek chick was obviously played by an African American, but we thought she was
Yeah.
still hot. We were young.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Right.
we didn't give a fuck. So, hey, it's
Oh
just,
man, and then she fell into the pit, and then the rain course. Or wait, are we talking about the? We're talking about a
no,
different one.
no, absolutely not. You got it.
Oh, that was Return. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was Return of the Jedi. That
yeah.
was. I was thinking that was Empire Strikes Back for some reason. I was Return of the Jedi. And then, so you know what kills? And I always go back to this, but you know what kills that scene now? I can't enjoy the scene anymore because that was a spank bank scene. I'm gonna be real with you.
Yeah.
Back when I was a little kid, but I can't even enjoy the scene anymore because you got the
Yeah, with the
like.
big
Nope,
lips.
it ruins the whole George. You didn't.
Be the pie, wee wah. Yeah.
You didn't took the bank away, George.
Yeah, he did. I know everybody loves George Lucas, and why not? But I can distinctly remember, like back in the day, like people like, please stop fucking with Star Wars, George Lucas. Just
It's
stop.
his story.
But you're right.
Those are the only things that I don't like when he added that shit. You didn't need to add that shit.
No, everything
He's
else was
like,
awesome.
wasn't
Like all
necessary.
the, you could see the people in the starships, and he redid all the explosions and shit. Like all that
Right.
was cool, and all
So
the additional
that
like
stuff,
animals and shit.
that stuff. And then the other thing that I don't like is Anakin, young Anakin being the Force Ghost.
I don't
That
mind
wasn't
that
the
so
one.
much.
That wasn't the one that got redeemed.
I hear you.
You don't get redeemed, and you don't be this evil man for like 60 years, and then get redeemed all of a sudden, turn in your own self. No,
Right.
that's the one thing about Star Wars that I would say as a flaw. I understand why they did it because the new movies are coming out and they were doing it and they're trying to put it together and be like, oh, that was the guy that I saw at the movie theater. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. I'm watching this. I'm watching this old people's movie. For those kids, during that time period.
Yeah.
So I understand it, business wise, but story wise, that's the thing that's always bothered me is one, Anakin didn't really redeem himself, but we're gonna go along with it, and then you're gonna make him young Anakin too. So like, you just get to murder everybody and then just be like, "Oh, son, I've always loved you," and then now you get your dick back. Like, no, we ain't
Yeah.
doing this.
You get your hair back.
Right?
Good cloak
Boy
and
had
everything.
luscious hair. He had his legs again. No, 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 no. He gotta be like this.
Yeah.
You gotta jump around, boy. That's your force
Yeah.
ghost. I better see
Yeah.
Anakin jumping around,
Yep.
waving his nubby around, talking about, wait, I'm your force ghost. Like, who is this nubby man jumping around? Oh, that's Anakin. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad. That's that one guy. He redeemed himself. Did you know?
Just not till after he lost all his limbs. Yeah.
Right.
So there you have it, folks. Acolyte. We love it. We always will. We'll defend it. And I think it's a very cool story. Very pivotal. One thing that Star Wars doesn't get enough credit for is the fact that as old as the franchise is, we still have these points that we're very interested in, and they're still a mystery.
You know what we didn't really discuss that it popped up in my head that there was a scene that kind of foreshadowed. Another thing that people wanted to talk about writing. They foreshadowed so much stuff all the time that you didn't even notice, which is a sign of amazing writing. But backing up a second.
Right on.
When Kilnaka's lightsaber got cut in half, foreshadow. Went into the ground, the crystal was exposed almost exactly the way this crystal was exposed when they were on Brendok. Number one.
Oh.
Number two, the bleeding of the the crystal, a lot of people are complaining like, "Oh, that's not how you do that." And how did she bleed the crystal and Anakin didn't? And in the games, it was out of the lightsaber, not in the lightsaber, and blah 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 blah. So I'm pretty sure Dave Filoni and all the canon crew or whatever were very aware of this situation, which is the reason why they cracked open the sheath,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously, uh Soul had been lying to Osha her whole life. And even though I personally was like, that's the what you're mad at, I've never had a Jedi kill my mom.
Right.
So I guess I can't really say how mad I would be. But when you are that mad, and then on top of that, she's been flirting with the dark side and probably sucked its dick in that cave a couple of times, before they went to Brendok, or on the ship on the way to Brendok. She's been flirting with the dark side and has that aura about anyway. So as soon as she picked up the lightsaber, I'm pretty sure it was weakening it. Then she force choked a Jedi Master, and he couldn't do nothing about
One that
it.
she loved and he loved her.
Exactly. So then there's even more emotions in it. I think that there was fear, hate, anger, and confusion. And the reason why I say confusion is because there was love in there too, but the hate and the love mixed together so much it turned it into confusion. So all of that together, and then she snapped that boy.
Choke
Bro,
that
that's
motherfucker
that's
while
a
looking
lot.
into his eyes.
Right.
I heard
And
someone
so
say,
my
I
thing
don't
about
like the way she showed her anger. She choked her motherfucking beloved
I don't like it.
mentor while he's
Who
looking,
said
they're
that?
looking at each other
Who said that?
on superhero
Looking
speak.
at each
You
other
might not
and
have made it that far, but yeah. They
and
started critiquing her
and
show of anger.
I see. But there's that, and Soul was like, it's okay.
Do it.
I'm
Right.
sorry. Do it. I deserve it.
Do it now.
God
Yeah.
damn, this show was good, bro. So
Yeah.
that was a lot that was going on right there. That would be enough to bleed a lightsaber.
And
So I say the reason why Anakin's lightsaber didn't bleed is one, it was protected by the lightsaber and it wasn't broken. And it survived for 60 years. And and still carries on. It's still alive, technically. It's just buried in the sand in motherfucking Tatooine. Um, there's that. And I don't think he actually really turned until after the fight with Obi-Wan. That's when he turned.
well, sure, but you have to look at
Like,
this. First of all, I
he
asked
turned
this.
when he killed the sand people, but turned like he's
Yeah.
officially a Sith.
I know people in the comments, you've all called me delusional, a shill, and all that shit. But let me pose the same question to my audience that I posed to the Superhero Speak audience. By the way, have not been given an answer. Where's the manual on bleeding lightsaber crystals? I would know if there's one, but I don't. If you do, please, down in the comments. But
So
outside
what you
of
do
that,
is it's on Amazon. You go on
right,
Amazon and you write, I am a shithead who doesn't understand stories, and it'll
yeah,
pop right up.
right
That's where
on.
the manual is.
Um,
That's where the manual is.
And as far as the why didn't Anakin's crystal bleed crowd, it was already his crystal. It already had his emotion, which he already had fear and all
It shows
sorts
him.
of shit going on. Okay,
That's a good point.
so
I didn't think about it like that.
that's why he can't bleed his own fucking lightsaber crystal, because that lightsaber crystal's already him. Already has that dark side tinge. Yes, it's blue, but we're talking about like Vader, as was pointed out to me, and I knew this already, but nonetheless, he did bleed a lightsaber in the comics, but it was another Jedi's lightsaber. And that's the whole fucking thing.
That was a good fight too.
Yeah, you got to corrupt
That was
something.
a great fight. He almost lost and everything.
Yeah, he did got fucked up. But so there you have it. So yes, good point bringing that up before I end the whole thing, because that was a big point of people. That's Lord Police, please. I need you. We got a violation. No, no.
And it's only in violation because my daddy Anakin is not being worshipped the way that I want him to be, even though this has nothing to do with him at all yet.
Yeah.
And that's why they need to stop calling it the Skywalker saga, because it's not the Skywalker saga, it's the Palpatine saga.
Yeah, true.
This whole thing is about him, and the Skywalkers are just in the middle of it.
All right. Well, listen. Hey, like I said before, we're on the eve of Deadpool, Wolverine. We're steadily approaching
Going
that
Saturday.
time for me. So you're going Saturday. I'm going tonight. So we're gonna have to end her there. Just again, we're gonna be the Acolyte Protection Agency all day, all night. But again, it's a great series. I hope they have
Debate
a
me,
season
bro.
2. Right? Yeah. Come on, let's talk about it. I do hope there is a season 2. Because
Yeah,
I actually did feel there were a couple of unanswered questions. The biggest one is what's the whole Vanessa Queermere
yep,
relationship? I am
yep.
interested in that, and I do hope that we do get to see it in another
What happens
season.
with the Senate? What did she tell Yoda?
Yep.
What position is uh Chimere putting OSHA in the cave?
Mm-hmm.
Uh sorry. But they are together. That's a point that, if we discuss Acolyte again, because I think next week is gonna be Deadpool and Wolverine review. But
Yes.
when we
Yes.
when we discuss when we discuss the Acolyte again, like we gotta get into the seduction of OSHA. And that boy come in, got some game. But I mean, his arms and that back, that probably would get
Yes.
me too if I was OSHA. Be honest with you, it's making me. I'm about to go hit the weights probably right after I turn this camera off. Now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm just playing. No, I'm not. I'm about to go to dinner. But but uh, but yeah, that's something to look into because I think that power of two that he was looking for. I want to know what he really meant by that because it's not like he didn't just get another pupil. He got a pupil that looked exactly the same as the one before. The one before just wasn't trying to do what he was trying to do. She had her own thing. This one kind of is. So let's see what happens.
Indeed. Yeah, well, we'll be here as soon as we hear something. We will let you know. But from here on, yes, like he said, next show is going to be a review of Deadpool and Wolverine, which I am on my way to see
Oh
right
man.
now. So
Oh
until
man.
next time, have a good one, and we'll see you on the next Omega Level Nerds. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give you a big thank you and ask you, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe and give us a comment below. It would really help us out. Thank you.